Now don't get me wrong, I'm all for just kind of showing up and figuring it out when it comes to traveling, but after being here for a year and looking back, there's definitely a few things that I wish I would have had set up before I got here. Today we're talking about 6 things that I think are essential to have set up before or either right when you arrive to Thailand. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Tempus TV. If you're new to the channel, welcome to Tempus TV. It is a cloudy day here in Jomtien, which is nice because it's nice and cool out, even though I feel like I'm going to be dodging the rain today. And guys, I'm running a new mic setup today on the camera, so if the audio sounds a little bit different, that's why. If it sounds like crap, I'm sorry. I'll do my best to fix it in post. But like we said, today I'm going to go over 6 things that I feel like will help your entry into Thailand a lot smoother, and while you're living here, it'll just make you a little bit more comfortable. Now don't get me wrong, some of these things you could definitely live without, but I think number 6 is one thing that you definitely have to enjoy your time. Let's do it! Now the first thing that I definitely did not do, which will affect your comfort levels for sure when you get to Thailand. If you've watched enough videos, you know that I harp on all the time that it is balls hot in Thailand. Now I even came from Arizona, middle of the desert, and it's hot there too, but it's different. It's very humid here. In Arizona, in the desert, it cools down at night big time, so you can just go out at night and you're good. In Thailand, not really the case. It's kind of just hot all the time. It might drop a few degrees at nighttime, but not really. Doesn't really change that much. But when you get here, it'll definitely be probably a little bit hotter than you're used to. So a definite essential when you get here is the proper clothing. Now I brought one hoodie with me, and the only time I've worn it is when I travel and I go on a plane or maybe like a bus that has crazy aircon or something. You're not really gonna need a jacket. Maybe a rain jacket, but even that, if it doesn't breathe, it's gonna be so hot, so it's probably not gonna be waterproof if it breathes. But when you come here, dry fit, you know, like the workout shirts that are like that neoprene material, they are your best friend. I'm wearing a cotton shirt right now, and they are so easy to sweat through. They're definitely hotter. You're not really gonna need jeans here, so that's not really something that you need to worry about bringing with you. But having the proper clothing, or at least being ready to be super hot when you get here, is an essential that will definitely make your entry a little bit smoother. Now, another one that I do get asked about quite a bit is speaking Thai. I get asked, you know, Tempus, is it really necessary for me to speak Thai when I first get there? Now, I don't think it's necessary to be fluent in Thai, especially if you're gonna be in any of the big cities. A lot of people speak English, and of course you've got Google Translate and all that stuff, but I do think it's essential to at least learn some basic stuff. Learn how to say thank you, learn how to ask for directions. Food, I think, is a big one. If you learn the basics on how to order food and how to say certain things, that will make it a lot easier. And at the same time, I definitely feel like Thai people appreciate the fact that you've taken some sort of an effort to at least speak some of their language. Think about it when you're in your home country and you meet somebody who is obviously a foreigner or maybe an immigrant who's living there, and even if it's broken but they speak your native language, at least me, I definitely appreciate that, because it means they took an effort to integrate, and it just seems like they're more serious about becoming a part of where they live. So I think it's super necessary to at least learn some basic stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, if you don't want to do that, you can totally get by without it. We're definitely talking about things that are going to make you a little bit more comfortable, and if you're walking around feeling like people appreciate you being there, at least with me, that makes me more comfortable. It is definitely somewhat of a sad day. We've got to go drop the CB off today. We've had it for a week. It's been super fun. I'm going to do a video pretty soon talking about if I think it's necessary or even worth it to have a big bike in Thailand, so make sure you stay tuned for that. I am definitely debating on if I should head up there right now, if it's gonna rain or not, if I'm gonna get soaked. We gotta go all the way up to Wongamat to drop that bad boy off, so it's a bit of a journey, and I don't really like being soaking wet by the time I get places, so there's a little bit of undertone of sadness today. She's been good, she's been fun, but gotta take her home.
Lights out, I'm your favorite. Too many ways, been in your place, there's delays. Added up plus signs, zeros on the table. Jiving and vibing, bring the beat later. Wanna make it bigger, just a little bit of flavor showing up to my space. I'm a fashion dealer, I'm your biggest bidder. Meet me in the
So we made it up to Wongamat to drop off the girlfriend. Sometimes people just grow apart, you know, and you just gotta go your separate ways. Sad day. Little side note, we are up here in Wongamat. This is actually like North Pattaya, up past Beach Road, past all that stuff. This is actually a really nice part of Pattaya. It's a little more bougie, as we would say in America. I like the way that like the streets are set up and stuff though. If you've ever been to San Diego, if you're any of my American viewers, it definitely reminds me of like Coronado, like little streets, really high buildings. So if you are looking for a place that's a little more, I guess, on the high end, where you want to stay in Pattaya, this is definitely a good place to check out. So another one that I definitely neglected until I was already here, and then luckily I met some people that kind of put me on, and that's the apps that you're gonna need on your phone when you get here. Now, you've heard me talk about the Bolt app plenty of times, which is a necessity when you get here if you're gonna be taking taxis. Pretty much the Uber of Thailand, so make sure you have that one all loaded up, especially when you first get here. If you're at the airport, it's going to be a lot cheaper for you to call a Bolt than it is to catch a taxi out front. Don't do that, those guys are taxing. Another one you probably heard me talk about, I'm a big proponent of, is Lazada, the Thai Amazon. We talked about it in the previous video. If you need to order stuff for your condo, soap, clothes, literally anything, they've got it all on there. So those are two. Third one is the Grab app. It's essentially the same as Bolt, but you can also do food delivery and stuff on there too. Consider it the Uber Eats and Uber all rolled into one. So those are three essentials. And then I definitely recommend downloading a third-party translation app. A lot of them you can download certain languages when you're on Wi-Fi and stuff like that. That way, if you are anywhere without service, you can go ahead and use those, as opposed to Google Translate, which works well if you have a signal or you're on Wi-Fi, but every once in a while, especially if you're traveling out of the big cities, you're gonna be short on signal, that's for sure, especially up north in the mountains. So that is a good one for sure. Another thing that I think is super important before you get here, if you're staying long-term, is having a solid, realistic budget. Now, this can be all over the range. I do have some videos talking about my day-to-day spending and what my budget is like, but having a realistic budget when you get here is definitely a good idea. And go ahead and get that budget together. Go try to think of everything you can. Hop back on my catalog and check those videos out for sure. Get everything nailed down, and I suggest adding maybe like another 20 to 30% on top of that, because things are gonna come up. You might go out a little bit more than you expected. You might only be able to get Western food when you're here because, you know, the old jet lag belly. So that is something I suggest to everybody. Get your budget together and then add another 20 to 30% on it, especially for the first few months, because myself included, when you get here, you're probably gonna spend a little bit more than you realized, and then the longer you're here, you can nail that budget down. You start to find the cheap places to eat, the cheap places to get beers, and then it'll help get to hopefully that original budget that you had together. After a long, arduous journey, arduous? Is that how you say that? Is that word? I don't really know. But after a long, painful journey and a lovely air-conditioned Isuzu D-Max, we are back in Jomtien. I had some crispy pork from dinner from my favorite spot, so we're chilling now. Let's get back into it, huh? One that I kind of half missed out on, half got right, half didn't, and I see a lot of people come here without it, is insurance. Dude, that's just not really smart, right? It would seem pretty straightforward that that's definitely something you want to have when you're traveling, but I know a lot of people that have come here and don't have it for some reason, which is wild to me. Another pro tip that I learned firsthand, if you've been watching the channel long enough, you know that I did have a motorbike accident here about 6 months ago. Not too big of a deal, but I did separate my shoulder, so I had to go in and get some x-rays, MRIs, things like that to make sure I didn't do any real damage. And I didn't know at the time, but my insurance didn't cover x-rays or MRIs. So especially if you're planning on riding a motorbike here, that is a good idea to get that coverage. Now, even the most expensive travel insurance that I've found is like $150 a month. And you can even get some stuff on the lower end for $40 to $50. Personally, I pay $65, which is nothing when it comes to medical bills. Now, granted, Thailand healthcare is much cheaper than America, especially, but there are still things that can happen. Of course, if you get really sick, you don't want to be stuck somewhere and not be able to pay your bills. Now, I don't really know how it works here, if they'll deny you treatment or anything like that if you don't have it, but if anything, it's going to end up being a lot more expensive. So something that you definitely should have squared away before you get here is insurance. And probably the most important thing to make sure you have before you get here. I've definitely been guilty of it quite a few times. I've caught myself doing it, so I'm not trying to preach any sainthood by any means, but that's just having an open mind. Now you're coming essentially thousands and thousands of miles away from home to have a new experience, and if you're living here, it can be hard to not compare things to home sometimes, but of course it's different. That's what you came here for, so just do your best to embrace that at all times. Things are going to be frustrating sometimes. Things aren't going to go the way that you like or the way that you're used to, but all you can really do is just go with it. I mean, what? You're going to turn around, buy another expensive flight, and just go back home with your tail between your legs? Come on, that's not why we came all the way out here, right? So when you get here, just be ready for everything to be different, and you'll have a good time. If you would like to see more and learn more about some things that you might want to get squared away or some things that are going to be different when you get to Thailand, go ahead and click the video on screen right now. And as we always say, I hope you guys have a great day. Catch you in the next one.